Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you every week from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful ice of the Galactic Empire. Join your hosts, John Mark Tolley, Garrett K. Jones, and Brian Karasik, as they discuss the various facets of the saga's lore, characters, review the films, and discuss every tidbit of news coming out of Lucasfilm. And remember, this isn't just my Star Wars, this isn't just your Star Wars, this is our Star Wars.
I think it worked better this week.
I think it did too. And as you can see or hear, we are once again Brian-less. He is out plotting the overthrow of the new. He is experiencing technical difficulties.
Apparently, some rebels got the plans to his internet router and told Winter how to affect it.
But no, hopefully
kind of write themselves.
They do. Hopefully he will be able to join us next week. But this week we are at once again, it is the second week of the month. So we are doing our character breakdown, whatever you want to call it.
Our character crave.
Yeah. Of Leia Organa, Princess Leia.
Yeah, and so I came up with this. This is actually used for our promo on social media.
Okay.
And so here we go. I put this together this morning.
Welcome to War of the
Stars. Didn't want to do that again. That's my one my retake for the year.
Strong-willed, stubborn, a natural leader, smart, cunning, beautiful, a statistically better shot than Han Solo. These are all the traits attributed to Leia Organa, the people's princess, as we dive into another character crave on War of the Stars.
That was very good. Very good. I like that. It's just getting right into it with Leia. It's a character that came around at kind of that same time when she was kind of the forerunner of a lot of those early 80s, late 70s, early 80s strong female characters like Princess Leia, Ripley,
Sarah Connor.
That came around. Yeah. That came around that same time, and she was kind of the forerunner of that. Of those types of characters. And she's definitely I'm sorry, I'm just kind of had a day, a weekend, but yeah.
So I mean, probably like you, my first introduction to Princess Leia was watching A New Hope.
Definitely.
And that always stood out to me. But for some reason, my fondest memories of her actually are, at least from childhood, were not of her in A New Hope, but of Leia in Empire Strikes Back. There's something about the white snow outfit, that snow bunny outfit that she was wearing, that just was very striking for me, because it was just a solid, like, white has always been the color associated with Leia through the majority of the first two films. Like, it's not until you get to the end of Empire Strikes Back where she's wearing when she's in Cloud City and she's wearing other clothing. But for the most part, she wears white through those first two fills. And then in Return of the Jedi, you get a completely different outfit change where she's wearing more earth tones because they're doing the guerrilla tactics on Endor. But yeah, she wears white a lot.
Yeah. I think one thing I noticed with her the difference between her appearance in A New Hope and that you really see in Empire is you see that you get kind of inklings and hints of the fact that she's a respected leader in A New Hope, but it is more of, you don't, I mean, you don't really see it played out in full as her being a military leader that much. I mean, you get glimpses of it until you get to Empire, and there she's giving orders to troops.
Yeah.
Like, you see it, she's sitting there, and they're treating her like she's a commander, not like she's just some, political leader or something like that. They're like, yes, ma'am, yes, we'll, and so I always like that, of that aspect of her in Empire, was her as military leader. And you get even more of it in Jedi when she's helping lead, the assault team.
Well, it's kind of interesting, like the way that for a character like this, like she's definitely a figurehead in the first one because she's a known senator and she's a princess of Alderaan. In fact, she's one of the few surviving Alderanians throughout the saga. But what's interesting is everyone's like, okay, she's just a figurehead. She was the she's being held on the Death Star by the Empire because she knows where the plans are. Essentially, she was the point of contact for anyone trying to get a hold of the Death Star plans.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one carrying them. She was the intelligence operative. If anything, she was just the asset. But by the time you get to the end of A New Hope, she starts giving strategy and providing intel to the rebel pilots who are going to be making the bombing run on the Death Star.
Yeah.
And when you get to Empire Strikes Back, she's more she's doing more strategic work and more strategic leadership as far as like giving the mission dossier to the snowspeeder pilots during the Battle of Hoth.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not given any military rank. She's still referred to as princess.
Mm-hmm. But
then she goes from being a leader to being on the front lines in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. She's basically maybe not field command, but she's in the field.
Yeah. And well, I mean, she to be fair, she is a field command. Like, she's part of Han Solo's command team because you've got Commander Skywalker and you've got Princess Leia as part of that, and then you've got Chewbacca. They were part of the command team. They weren't part of the actual mission team.
Yeah.
But same thing. And so it's kind of interesting. She volunteers for that position, mainly if anything, just to be closer to Han. But
yeah.
So anyway,
the first time we ever get any recognition of her being a military leader, though, like officially, is in The Force Awakens, where she's referred to as General
Organa. Yeah.
So
which I think that was interesting that they waited until the movies to refer to her by her last name. That in all the movies they refer to, because in the original trilogy they never referred to her. Now I don't know if that was just during that time they didn't have her have a last name until later on, or if that was a conscious choice or what. But like, they always refer to her as Princess Leia,
right?
Never Princess Organa.
Well, and I think a lot of that backstory hadn't been fully fleshed out by Lucas yet, and and whatever elements were there, he was kind of just like breadcrumbing.
But also at the same time, that would go along with even naming royal naming conventions in Earth, modern day Earth. Prince William is called Prince William. He's not called Prince Wales. He's called
Prince because Wales isn't his last name. It would be Spencer.
Well, or it would be Windsor.
Hold on. Let me verify that.
Technically, Wales is officially considered his family name because
No, Wales is part of his. He's the Prince of Wales. That's his
Prince
title.
of Wales. Right.
But his official last name,
It should be Windsor.
yes, House of Windsor. So his
House of Windsor.
his mother's last name was Spencer.
Yeah, but his father was a Windsor.
Right. And
Yeah.
so
you wouldn't say the Prince Windsor. You'd say so. It'd be so. I can see that you would.
Well, yeah,
if you're referring to her by her title, you would call
William of the House of the House of Windsor, first of his name or whatever.
Yeah, and same thing with Leia, it would be she's a princess of Alderaan, who happens to be from the house of adopted into the house of Organa.
Right.
One thing for me personally, I understand how so many, especially young men during that time, would have been their first crush, their Star Wars crush. And for me, I always looked at Leia as someone that not necessarily a crush, but someone that I would have loved to have had as a big sister. Like, that's kind of like, I understand the appeal of, she's beautiful, she's pretty, but for me, it was always like, I would have having Leia as a big sister would have been awesome. Just because she would have been the type to be like, come on, she would have been dragged you on all these adventures, and yeah, you would have gotten in trouble, but she would have had the mindset, I think, of well, yeah, fun is going to get you in trouble. Fun equals trouble. Trouble equals fun. Let's go.
Yeah, and that's kind of that. Like, I never thought of her in terms of being like an older sibling or anything like that. For me, it was because I grew up on classic literature, and the typical hero quest stories. She was definitely more of I understood that the princess was supposed to be a love interest.
Yeah,
I understood that. And while I had a little bit of a crush on Leia going through like middle school and high school, it wasn't until I was in high school and I was rewatching the special edition release of Return of the Jedi in theaters back in the late 90s that really developed my a crush on Leia as a character. I couldn't figure out what it was about her that was just so damn attractive. I will admit the gold bikini sealed the deal. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. But there's something about the way that she operates. Like, for example, that clip of her at the end of A New Hope where she's finished handing out the medals to Han and Luke and ignored Chewbacca, and she gives that big smile at the end. That smile is so genuine and so endearing, because she's just, like when someone smiles with their eyes, you can see it, as opposed to a smile where the eyes are not engaged, and it's one of those genuine smiles, and man, it's so beautiful, so lovely. And I think the thing I appreciate the most about her is just how snarky she could be. Like, I mean, she comes out the gate, guns blazing on Vader. Like, Vader has he's just killed like most of her guards, or had them killed. He's picked up someone by their neck and strangled them. She's like,
now that we've seen her in the Obi-Wan series, we know that she knows what Vader is capable of. She knows just how vicious he can be, but yet she still gives zero craps about standing up to Vader, even though she knows exactly, maybe not doesn't know who he is, but he knows who he is. He knows what he's capable of, and just how ruthless he can be, and knows that he could easily just, with a thought, snap my neck, and still like, screw it.
Although
not only am I
will
going to stand up to him, I'm going to throw shade.
I will say this. I think it would have been better characterization in the Kenobi series to have Leia be not so fiery, not so much of a pistol, until after she's had that encounter and she sees Kenobi stand up to him. I think that would have been a stronger example for her to stand her ground, because maybe before that she was a little bit more fearful, or maybe before that she wasn't as vocal in her opposition.
Well, and I would think it would have even been one where that bravado, initially comes off is masking something, like it's almost a fake bravado.
Yeah, like,
and then when she's actually confronted with him, she but then she sees Kenobi and it's like, okay, I can, this is something I can do. I don't need to just hide behind the mask of bravado. I can be brave.
Right. And I think it would be incredibly helpful for the character. I don't know. Leia has so much great characterization, great development from the very beginning. I mean, when you first see her, you see her. I mean, she's technically proficient. You see that as she is, installing the data for the plans into R2D2 and recording her message. You don't realize that that's what she's doing until after you see the recording. But all you know is that maybe she's just, she's installing something. But then, she faces off against Vader and she throws shade at him. And then the next scene we have of her is when she's brought in to be interrogated, or they go into her cell to interrogate her. That was a terrifying scene for me as a kid to watch. She comes through that just fine. They can't figure out how she was able to withstand all the torture and all the mind control.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have any active force abilities. But then you get to the scene where she is dealing with Grand Moff Tarkin, and even then she's biting back because she has zero respect for Grand Moff Tarkin. And like the way that she refers to Vader as basically his dog, his attack dog, is very telling.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know. So I guess that leads me into my question for you is, what is one of your favorite Leia moments, either from what we see in canon as far as films and TV, or from what we've seen in books, whether it's current canon or past canon?
Well, I mean, there's so many. I'm gonna have to almost do it movie by movie, because I think there's so many great. I can't pick one. In the original movie, in the original New Hope, her standing up to Vader, that whole scene is great. In Empire, seeing I like Empire because you not only see you've already seen established the strength of Leia in A New Hope, and you see even more, but seeing the vulnerability of her when she's there, when she's in the Falcon with Han, and that budding romance, and see her start to let her guard down and start to realize that while she can be this strong independent woman, she can still be a woman and still let that femininity out, and that Han is the person that she feels most comfortable with doing that. And this the snarkiness, like you said. One of my favorite scenes of her is the scene in the med bay in Empire, where she's I'd rather kiss a Wookiee. That is just
that can be arranged.
That can be arranged. And then
she's like, well, I guess you don't know everything about women, and then she just plants one on Luke. God, both, like, for every nerd that was like, that always like looked up to Luke as being their hero, they finally get that right. Yes, all right, the handsome guy does not get the girl. And then it gets completely ruined half a movie later when you
Yeah.
find out that she's his sister, it's like, oh
Oh.
no. All the people in Arkansas are like, yeah. Just for the record, those people living in Arkansas, we do not look down on you.
We don't.
It's just a joke.
Yes. Now,
thank
West
you.
Virginia, that's a different. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Wow. Well, that went off the rails. But, and then now I haven't read much of the new canon, I'll admit.
I haven't either.
But seeing her in the especially in the early days of the Legends, the Thrawn trilogy, and her as going back to her roots as a political leader and building, helping build a fledgling new republic and helping lead it, and actively deciding, and she does this in the new canon, deciding that despite the fact that she has these abilities, that she could train to be a Jedi, she actively decides, no, I feel like it's more important for me to serve the people in a different aspect than a Jedi, that it's more important for me to stay in the political sphere and help build this new government and lead that way.
I think that was. I think that's an interesting take for her because, like, she left the Jedi stuff to her brother. She had the more political mindset. He had the more spiritual mindset. Both with their military backgrounds, and I think that was a good dichotomy for them.
So here's a question for you: Who
okay.
do you think is more like, her dad or her mom? Which one do you think or do you think she has aspects of both?
I think just like Luke, she's got aspects of both. Like, I think Luke definitely leans more towards being more like Anakin, but when you look at Leia's personality, she had the political wherewithal to do what she was doing and to do it well. She was a natural leader, just like Padme was.
Yeah.
And she was willing. The only difference is, whereas Padme spent a lot of time doing things through subterfuge and hiding her identity and hiding and keeping herself protected, Leia is completely opposite to that. And you see Padme become more overt throughout the Clone Wars, for example. And so she develops that personality. Yeah. But you see it right from the get-go with Leia, which I think is where she gets most of that personality from Anakin, because Anakin was that kid who would jump right into things. He was that kid who was fearless, who was willing to stand up for things. And so I think it helps that as Leia got older, and I'm speculating here because I haven't read a whole lot of the new canon, but given the fact that she found out that she was essentially adopted, or at least she knew she was adopted in the Kenobi series, my guess is, in talking with her father, who would have known Padme very well, she probably was able to get a sense of who her mother was, and applying that mindset to how she lived her life.
Yeah, definitely. What are some of your favorite moments of Leia?
I think one of my favorite moments with Leia is I just think my favorite moments with her are when she is getting fiery. Like the way that she handles herself on the Death Star, the way like she doesn't take crap from anybody. She's willing to insult just about anybody who comes across her path. The way that she operates with regards to Lando on that situation, but then she is the snarkiness goes out the window throughout the majority of Return of the Jedi, because at that point she's matured a little bit. She's dealt with some of the losses that they've had to deal with. And she comes to realize that sometimes subtlety is a little bit more useful than antagonism. But like I still think my favorite scene is the fact that she's the one who takes out Jabba the Hutt. Not only is she a much better shot, not only is she a much better shot statistically than Han Solo, she is the one person in the galaxy who takes out the most ruthless criminal in the entire galaxy.
I believe in the new canon, she's even referred to as the Hutt Slayer.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, they call her the Hutt Slayer. Yeah.
She's the last of the Organas, and she is the Hutt Slayer.
And one of my favorite titles is in the original Thrawn trilogy, the Timothy Zahn novels, when she first encounters the Nogray, and they're sent to assassinate her. There's a scene where they're sent to assassinate her, and they get her sent, and the first thing they refer to her as Lady Vader, and through the entire, they refer to her, she's Lady Vader, and they will not kill her because she is. They got that, which is which the Nogray. That's the original concept for those. They were just so cool. I thought.
And I remember that because that was in Dark Force Rising, and it is. Well,
it was in the first. They refer to her that in the first novel.
That's true, but like there's a scene in Dark Force Rising where she's in the Falcon. Chewbacca's with her. They are in orbit around Endor, and I don't remember why. And she's remembering the battle. And she's waiting for that species to show up again, so she can talk with them, and because she's trying to broker peace, and she's just sitting there. And at the time, she's like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months pregnant with Jason and Jaina.
Yeah, and
I'm just like, man, that is like the fact that they refer to her in that way is just really kind of cool.
Yeah. What do you think of, and I've only got snippets of this, is, with what I've heard of in the new canon, is her relationship to Anakin. And how, and at least in the new canon, she is very much I'm never going to forgive you. Like, she still holds that animosity, and like, I believe there's a scene in one of the books where Anakin's Force Ghost comes to her and she basically says, "I want nothing to do with you. Luke may have forgiven you, but I don't know if I ever could."
On the one hand,
I don't know if they've gone on and had softened that relationship, but I can definitely see Leia being the one to be a little bit harder to mend those bridges, because while Luke fought Vader and saw what Vader did, Leia saw what Vader did. Like, she had a close up. Luke never was tortured, except for Luke was never really tortured by Vader, or had these horrible things done to him, or had, his, stuff like that. Whereas Leia saw that. Leia saw her whole planet destroyed by, essentially, while Vader wasn't the one who pulled the trigger.
Vader wasn't the one who pulled the trigger. That was Tarkin. Yeah. Who made the order. But Vader stood by. He was there. He allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
And so like the way that the whole thing plays out, like I can understand fully why like integrating that part into her character, because I like being, if I were to put myself in her shoes and be like, okay, I've watched this guy kill my closest friends. I've watched him. He has tortured me. He has allowed my planet, my family, the only people I've ever known as family, to be murdered wholesale. He has tortured my boyfriend. He has cut off the hand of my best friend and tortured him. And all these horrible things that Anakin has done in the in his time as Vader.
Yeah.
And she's witnessed all this. There's no rhyme or reason for her to forgive him.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as like she's concerned, like with Luke, I think it was different because Luke was raised by his aunt and uncle, and they always made it a point that it was Aunt Beru and Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen. Whereas with Leia, it was a full adoption. Those were her parents. The Organas, as far as she's concerned, were her mom and dad.
Right.
So she never was able to really look at Vader Anakin as a father of any type.
And you look at it, none of the things he does is fatherly. Nothing he says, none of the way he treats her. And even after he realizes that he had a daughter, like what are his first thoughts about
to use her.
Right. To convert her to the dark side, to use her as a weapon, to torture Luke, of all people. He used that idea to try and drive Luke to the dark side. And the fact that he was like, and I'm sure some of those thoughts, some of those memories rippled through the Force connection that allowed Anakin's Force Ghost to talk to her.
Yeah.
Because it's a spiritual connection. There's nothing being blocked out there. And so I think it was, it's hard to say, but I don't know.
Well, let's move on and let's discuss Leia in the portrayal of Leia in the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
And like you said, we definitely get the especially in Force Awakens, the military, definitely military leader. I mean, what do you think of? Let's start with her portrayal of Leia in Force Awakens, because I think that's the one where we see her the most. Because for a lot of the other movies, she's either unconscious or obviously by the time we get to Rise of Skywalker,
relatively, her scenes are relatively minimal. It was good to see her still operating as a command presence and being a military person. I don't understand. Like, I really wish there was more content to help understand why we still had a resistance within the New Republic. Because if the New Republic was supposed to be as effective as they were, they would have had a standing army, and they would have been.
Well, I think that was part. I mean, you go through, especially in the new canon, you find out that part of the thing the New Republic was doing was demilitarizing. In their mind, because they didn't see this new order as a threat, and they thought so there was an active movement. I think it's stupid. Personally.
It's absolutely stupid. No military strategist worth their salt is going to be like, yeah, we should totally decommission all of our weapons platforms.
Yeah.
Right after a huge war.
Yeah. But that goes, if you look through at the history of the Republic, that follows, because that was why it was such a big deal when Palpatine commissioned the army of the army of the Republic, because there had never been an army.
Yeah.
Each planet was responsible for its own defense, and any major escalation was dealt with by the Jedi. Well, there was a problem when the New Republic happens, and you only have one Jedi instead of the thousands that you had during the Republic.
Right.
But I digress. I definitely get a sense of you see a Leia who is tired, that she still has that fight in her, but you can tell that she's someone who's seen a lot and gone through a lot, and is war weary, but yet she knows that she still has to fight.
Yeah.
I
would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And now I know that they had to make some pivots with Leia's presence in The Last Jedi and in The Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
I think the scene, I think probably my favorite scene that she is in The Last Jedi is when Luke appears, and right before he battles Kylo Ren.
Oh, that you mean that's in
Last Jedi?
No, that's not in Last Jedi.
Yes, it is.
Are you sure he doesn't fight Kylo in Last? He fights Kylo in.
He fights Kylo in The Last Jedi because that's where he dies. Remember?
No, he dies in the first one.
No, you're thinking of Han Solo. I said Luke.
No, Luke died. Luke died because he's on the because it's the battle. It's the battleless crate.
Yeah, that's The Last Jedi, dude.
Nope, that's Force Awakens.
No, it's not. Force Awakens with Takodana, and then it goes to Ilum, where Starkiller Base is. Luke is only.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Awakens.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
I really
Sorry.
wish I had bet you money on this one.
Oh. 100 Old Republic credits.
Nah, I want real money. Republic credits are no good here on Tatooine.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I was wrong. But yes, I agree. That is a great moment.
It is a very good moment. It's very sweet. It's very touching. I will admit, it's probably the one emotional moment in the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, I really would have, given how well she supposedly knows her top people, and her fighters and her pilots and all that. I really think it was bad leadership on her part to not advise Holdo and Poe to work together, or at least have something in place should something happen to her, so that he knew how to trust Holdo. Because the fact that Holdo has this impulsive pilot, and she keeps all of the information close to the vest, that's ridiculous. Like, none of those soldiers, none of those pilots should have listened to a single thing she said until she was willing to give them information. At no point was there any reason for her to think, oh, hey, we might have a spy in our midst. None of that. So the fact that she has this very impulsive, pilot, Leia should have known just how impulsive Poe would be, since she's worked with him for a few years.
Yeah.
And make sure things are set in place that would not prompt him to go, bonkers.
Yeah.
Bad leadership on her part.
Yeah. Well, I think before we kind of wrap things up, I mean, we have to. I mean, we have to talk about the woman behind the character, Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher, man.
I mean, like. So,
She was a phenomenal actor. She was like, she was a great writer. She was a script doctor for a lot of films. She punched up the dialogue, made it funny. She had a great sense of humor.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
brilliant
and funny, and I mean, every bit she was every bit as witty and as snarky as Leia was, if not more. If not more. I mean, and a mouth on her. Oh my goodness. Oh.
So like the last time I had seen her in anything, so like the year I went to Japan was 2000. You know, the special edition original trilogy had been out 3 years prior. The year before that was Phantom Menace. And then, so like I come back in 2001 and I see this film trailer for a Jay and Silent Bob movie. It was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is obviously a nod to Star Wars in the title. And the movie got delayed. I don't remember why. I think it had something to do with 9/11, but the movie got delayed. They finally released it in 2002. And I went to go see it in theater, and I'm cracking up. I love it. I think it's hilarious. And then there's this nun that pops up, and I'm like, man, that nun looks really familiar. She sounds familiar. I have no idea why. At the very end credits, they explain that it is Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher, yes.
And it was so funny. Like,
yes.
And not only do they have Carrie Fisher in there, but they also had Mark Hamill, a character. But golly, man, it was so funny to watch her on screen. And then she had that bit part at the end of Big Bang Theory.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Where
it's not funny.
And the funny thing is James Earl Jones had never met her before that.
I know. But it's not funny, James. Then why am I laughing?
Oh man. And the scene was probably something that she probably had them put in there.
Yes.
It's totally her sense of humor.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I mean, we definitely, when we lost her, we lost a legend.
We lost an icon.
Yeah. And if anybody deserves to be a Disney princess, it's the people's princess. Yeah.
She is the princess, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are we talking about next week?
Well, next week we are going to be doing a review of the latest Star Wars series, Skeleton Crew, giving our thoughts on it, and the just general thoughts on the series, whether we liked it, whether we didn't like it, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and just giving our thoughts. Hopefully, as I said, Brian will be rejoining us again as we dive into Disney's answer to the Goonies
and Treasure Planet.
Yeah, and
dude, seriously, in the last episode, and I'll probably talk about this next week, but like I was sitting there watching the episode last Tuesday, and as soon as they use the phrase Treasure Planet, and they do verbatim the phrase Treasure Planet, I had that whole meme, like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We're like, they said it.
they said the word. They said the thing. Yes, exactly. Yeah, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about favorite characters, who some of the the highlight characters were.
Yeah.
And things like that. Oh, my daughter just popped in for a second.
Aha.
And yeah, and see where with this show, where Star Wars TV and movies goes from here.
Yep.
So join us for that. So with that said, Garrett, why don't you let the people know where they can find you at?
Yeah, I'm gonna share Brian's contact information first, since he's not
All right.
here to do it for himself. So if you want to get in contact with Brian Karasik, you guys can find him over on facebook.com/the.sith.library, where he posts as Darth Korosis. They cultivate a huge library of Sith related content for Star Wars. Really cool stuff. I got to have an interaction with one of their members over the last couple of days. They posted something about this really cool. They had this really cool design for a Sith Lord. I don't know if it's a former canon or a Legends thing, or if it's just a design that someone came up with. I gave them the idea of calling it Darth Gremlinus, as in gremlin, because he looked like a gremlin. They liked it, so that was really fun for me. But yeah, get in contact with him, and he's also on Instagram. Not as much as I am, but he is on Instagram at Korosis.
One thing. Oh, go ahead. One thing before we get do our sign up. If you are interested in getting the backlog of any of our shows, they are all available now on our YouTube channel. I checked. I thought they had it set up so they would be released once a week, but I did something and they're all released there through 2020. All the episodes from early 2020 to today are on our YouTube channel. Just go to search War of the Stars, the Star Wars podcast, and click the podcast link. I am in the process of trying to get access to the even earlier ones from the early days of War of the Stars. Right now I don't have access to those. I'm hoping I can get access to them. I don't know if I can, so no promises. But yeah, you'll be able.
Recordings you go. Only pain will you find.
Yeah, some of them are you can, especially when you start getting back into like the 2016 and 17 era, they can get pretty, early bad audio, bad video, yeah. But it was still fun. But yeah, if you're interested in that, like I said, just go to War of the Stars, our YouTube page, and check it out. All right. With that being said, Garrett, what about yourself?
You guys can find me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books, The Archives of a Sync Ram. It's currently a 5-book fantasy series. I am working on book 6, but that's kind of put on the back burner for now. I do have another book coming out next month on Monday, the 17th of February, called Midnight Playground. It's an anthology of collected short stories. I also host a show on YouTube called The Right Way. Just search for GKJ Publishing. I talk about book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. I have my 250th milestone episode dropping this Saturday, the 18th. I'm really excited because I've been doing this I'm now in my 7th season, and I really enjoy doing the show. And then I also host another show for Feast of Fandoms called Snackame, where we have a new episode actually coming out this Friday. We're doing the second half of Ranma 1 half while we eat ramen, because we eat snacks and watch anime. So,
all right. As for us right here, if you want to get a hold of us, you can email us at warthestars1@gmail.com. Our Instagram handle is @war_of_the_stars1. And we are on X at War of the Stars 1. That is our handle there. Or YouTube. You can check us out there at WOTS77. As I said, you can get all of our backlog episodes from 2020 on there. So if you want to check out some of the older episodes and see where we've been and how we got here, you can do that also. As for, we are also a proud member of Feast of Fandoms, as Brian or Garrett said. Wow, I just so check out all the shows on Feast of Fandoms and there. If you want to support the show, Ko-fi.com/War of the Stars, you can do there, or you can get the cool merchandise at spreadshirt.com/shop/war-of-the-stars. Yeah. With that being said, as we always say, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next week, may the Force be with you.